My name is Matthew Vallier, and I am the flag preservationist here at the Connecticut State Capitol. So in the Hall of Flags, one of the last flags on display in the north side case, the one closest to the window, there are three flags to the 10th Connecticut Regiment. One is the early national flag that they carried from 1861 until about 1864. And the second stand of colors, so a set of flags, a national and a regimental flag, those colors were received by the regiment in 1864. The significant thing behind those flags actually comes right at the end of the Civil War. It was early April 1865. And General John Gibbon, a very famous Civil War figure, he was now in command of the 24th Army Corps. And he tasked the 10th Connecticut to assault Fort Gregg, which is considered the Confederate Alamo during that time period. The purpose of taking that fort was to break the Petersburg line, break the siege of Petersburg. So the 10th Connecticut made the charge, and George Phillips, who carried the blue regimental flag that we saw, was cited for gallantry and bravery during that charge. And looking at the staff, you can't necessarily see it on display, but when we examined it, we saw three kind of chunks taken out of the staff because of the mini balls that were flying around in the air during the battle. But he was cited for gallantry because he was among the first to plant his flag on the parapet of the Confederate earthworks there. Next to him was Sergeant Allen Tucker of the 10th Connecticut. He was carrying the national flag, which was a later Philadelphia Depot style flag, so different design than the some of the other Connecticut flags that we have in the display, but it was a national flag made down in Philadelphia. And he carried that flag, and he was also cited for gallantry in the charge, and he was given a Medal of Honor. The regimental flag has a brass finial on the top, and it is a solid brass finial, and it is very heavy, but it was presented to the 10th Connecticut by General John Gibbon, their corps commander, because he saw them charge and he thought they were very brave and very gallant, so he decided to award the regiment almost a regimental citation that way by presenting them a new brass finial. The flag that we had laid out here in the flag room, that is the first national flag of the 11th Connecticut Regiment. They were raised, mustered into the Union Army in November of 1861 here in Hartford, and that flag was presented to the colonel of the regiment, Thomas Kingsbury. He was presented the flag at the home of Mayor Henry Deming here in Hartford. Henry Deming was also the colonel of the 12th Connecticut Regiment, so they received their colors at the same time. That flag was carried along with a later national flag a few weeks later that was given to the regiment. They were sewn together and carried that way through most of the Civil War. They were not given a new set of regimental colors until February of 1865. So they went pretty much the entire war without a new set of colors. And that flag was carried by Sergeant George Bailey at the Battle of Antietam. Some of the tears in the silk can be attributed to combat use. Generally, how a silk, well, what these flags are made out of, will split when projectiles fly through it, won't necessarily cause a big hole. So there's some exceptions to that. But generally when a mini ball, a Civil War bullet, will pass through some of these, it will tear vertically. Those weaves will kind of just separate. Looking at some of the flags, we can definitely attribute some of that damage to combat use. And the interesting thing about the 11th Connecticut flag, since they were sewn together, if we laid one flag on top of the other, we could see that a projectile had flown through both of them, proving our fact that the flags were carried together through most of the Civil War. You'll notice on that flag, it does have some battle honors, and those are the names of the engagements or the battles that they had served in. So it has New Bern, South Mountain, Antietam, the Battle of Fredericksburg, and the Siege of Suffolk. The purpose of having battle honors on the flag was it was your regimental identity. Those flags represented who your regiment are, and that the regiment had served honorably in those battles, and they had followed orders and did their duty. The staff that those national flags of the 11th Connecticut were mounted to was given to the 11th Connecticut by the Sons of Connecticut in New York in December of 1861. There's a brass sleeve that is inscribed, presented to the 11th Connecticut Volunteers by the Sons of Connecticut. That brass sleeve will actually slide up, and there's a joint in there that will allow the bottom half of the staff to be folded. That flagstaff had been struck by numerous projectiles during the Civil War. The staff was so important as well to the regiment that the color guard, the men protecting the colors and carrying the colors, actually used some canteen straps and some other leather wares to strap the staff back together and keep it somewhat stable so they could continue to carry it that way. That flag will be going out for preservation soon, and we're hoping in about a year it will be ready for display.